Thank you very much. So just to recap, got to the point now at the annual parish meeting where I, as chairman of the parish council, just going to deliver the annual report on behalf of the parish council. And then I'm going to hand over to Janet Sanderson, who wants to say a few things on behalf of NYC. And then I'll come back and do questions and answers. And then we can consider any ideas that anybody has got that we could take forward. The annual report of Thornton Le Dale Parish Council. Last year, the annual meeting was held on the same day, 23rd of May 2023. And I think it's fair to say that since that time, quite a lot has happened. So I'm just going to run through a very quick summary of the past year. And then I'm going to drill down in a little bit of detail and tell you what this current parish council have been up to and where we hope to be heading for. So, I'm going to take you back to May 2023. You probably recall at the annual parish meeting there was a public vote followed by a public parish poll, and the parish poll was really about residents expressing discontent with the parish council of the time. And subsequently, back in July of last year, the parish council was declared as incorrect and did not sit for 2 months. At the same time, back in July of 2023, the external auditors contacted the parish council to advise the members then that an investigation was being commenced into the financial dealings of the parish council for the financial year of 2022-2023. That led right through to September of 2023, where the parish council went through the election process and 5 new members, myself included, were elected onto the council. And we had our first parish council meeting on the 26th of September. So quite significant time that the parish council weren't sitting. Then, just 6 weeks later, 7th of November, the locum clerk walked out of the then parish council meeting and withdrew her services to the parish council. And subsequently, an employment dispute commenced, which involved the locum clerk retaining all the property belonging to Thornton Le Dale Parish Council. And it left us without a clerk or a responsible financial officer for a further 2 months. Consequently, Parish Council struggled to conduct day-to-day business, and we relied wholly on support of other professional organisations such as NALC, YLCA. So NALC is the National Association of Local Councils, YLCA is the Yorkshire Local Council Association, and they had the support of local businesses as well, and North Yorkshire Council themselves. In the following December of 2023, just when we thought that things couldn't get any worse, the external auditors got back in contact with us and said that the investigation had disclosed that the formally reported concerns and challenges to the AGAR report that they were investigating were going to be upheld, and that the parish council were invited to pull together a report in response to those 4 challenges that were accepted by them. Now, I'll just quickly mention that the findings of the external auditor's report is still outstanding, and we are still awaiting the final report to come through. January, the Parish Council went through the recruitment process. Part of the action plan that had been sitting for quite some time was to find and employ a new permanent clerk that could act in the best interests of the council. And if we fast forward to the end of January, the new parish clerk came to work for us. In February of this year, despite the best efforts of the Parish Council to resolve the employment dispute with the previous locum clerk, we were instructed that the Parish Council were going to be taken to an employment tribunal and that we were to ready ourselves for quite a storm ahead. So all in all, Thornton Le Dale Parish Council over the last 12 months has only really sat in full for 8 months, and those 8 months have been absolutely full of turmoil, and it's been really quite difficult. And then of course in April last month we lost Henry, and just like to take a moment to pay tribute again to Councillor Holsworth. So that's the year in summary. I think it's fair to say that rather a lot has happened over those 12 months, and sadly most of it, if not all, has been quite negative. The Parish Council has experienced significant problems, and at quite a few times in those 8 months that we were sitting as a full council, we have struggled to function. The problems really have been associated previously relating to how the parish council and the members of that parish council was functioning, including the conduct and the behaviour of some of those members. Problems were also experienced about national negative media. Now, I don't know if you saw the Guardian newspaper article, but we, as a parish council, were an absolute disgrace and a laughing stock, and that reflects badly on our community. Also, with problems, significant problems related to the external auditor's investigation into the financial affairs of the parish council over 2022-2023, and of course the pending employment tribunal and the employment dispute that we are still in with our previous locum clerk. The biggest problem overall, really, when you strip everything aside, is this community should really have a parish council that can function and at least deliver minimal services despite all the problems. Sadly, Thornton Le Dale Parish Council hasn't been able to do that because we just haven't had, and we still do not have, property belonging to the parish council. Account books, documents, laptops, printers, admin programs, codes, access codes, registers. Most importantly, burial records, and I think it's important to highlight the problems we've had at the cemetery and we are still experiencing at the cemetery because we don't have burial records. Our beautiful village, Thornton Le Dale, and the area of Dalby really deserves better, and I think you all agree. Historical, natural, vibrant, active, helpful, friendly community. It's a wonderful place to live, and I myself absolutely love living here. Rest assured that the current parish council is working hard, really hard, to make positive changes, and let's face it, some serious changes needed to be made. And I'm going to tell you about some of the changes now that the parish council has undertaken. It's been a bit of a struggle. I'm not trained. I have no training, very limited with YLCA, no experience, and I, like my colleagues, were volunteers. We just try to get organised, trying to learn what we're doing at the same time. And I have spent, like my colleagues, absolute hours at home getting my head around a complete and utter mess and trying to resolve it. I've spent hours with the external auditor writing, compiling reports. I've spent hours with the employment dispute. I've spent hours communicating with the locum clerk, trying to avoid all this legal action that is heading our way. And I've spent hours deflecting complaints, official complaints, formal complaints that have been made against me, how I've conducted myself, complaints that I've made by members of this community to the monitoring officer, and I've spent hours having to write reports. And I'm pleased to report that all those complaints have been unfounded, and that the monitoring officer has fed back that think they're doing a really good job under difficult circumstances. I've been investigated by North Yorkshire Police. I stood to make things better for this community, and people in this community reported me to North Yorkshire Police for election fraud. Turned out to be a spelling and a printing error on a poster. But I was investigated by North Yorkshire Police, and luckily I've got a letter in my folder. North Yorkshire Police decided to take no further action against me. I've also had people in this community contact my previous employer, Suffolk Police. I was a policeman for 30 years. To check that I've been a policeman for 30 years and what salary grade I retired on. Now, I didn't think I lived in Russia under Putin, but there are some members of this community that think that we do. It's got to stop. Things have got to be made better. And we are trying to make things better by representing the local community within which we live. We are trying to deliver services. It's difficult, but we're striving to improve quality of life for everybody that lives here. So, I'm going to walk you through a few things. We want to represent the local community. We've had some very good public parish council meetings, and I'm encouraged to see so many people come and listen to me drone on. Trying to get your head around things, trying to do things properly, trying to climb a mountain. There are still people that write and complain, I've missed a signature off an agenda, I've got things wrong, I can't do this, I can't do that, and I've been investigated, like I said, but I'm determined to carry on. We've engaged with the public and we've tried to keep the public informed. I think this evening you will see that the public are in support of the Parish Council and they are in support of the community, and it's those voices that need to be heard. So we have Parish Council meetings that are running well. We have questions and answers, and I try to answer those questions. Some I can, some I can't. The law says that Parish Council can't make a decision at the time of a Parish Council meeting when a question is answered. So sometimes common sense doesn't prevail. You've got to abide by the law, and we are trying. If we can't answer a question, we'll feedback, and that's about representing the public. We video record the Parish Council meetings. That is not because we live under a Putin regime. That is to reach wider audiences, the elderly and the infirm and such like, that show an interest in their local community but can't turn out on a wet and cold Tuesday to come to the meeting. And I've had emails from people that watch the videos and they're very grateful for them, and we will continue to do that. We've designed our website, we've made some technological advances. We didn't have access to our website for a number of years, but we've got over that hurdle and we're going to redesign it. We're contactable, you know who we are, you see us in the street, and I'd like to think that we're all approachable. You're not going to get a shouting match from any of us on the council. We publish minutes when we can, we're open to scrutiny. Now, I don't mind being open to scrutiny, but I will not tolerate being dragged through investigations by the police, investigations by the monitoring officer, etc., etc. But I am open to scrutiny, and I want to remain accountable, as we all do. And I'm going to give that reassurance to you all here this evening that if I get something wrong, by all means, pull me up on it and I will put it right. But I'm not perfect, and nobody is, and we all make mistakes. I think the current Parish Council is working well as a team. And overall, I'd like to think that members of this community and this parish feel that they are being listened to. We're focused on delivering and managing services, and I've just touched upon how hard it has been, but we continue to create opportunities for local businesses and local people through the tendering of contracts that we've undertaken. There's been a lot of criticism, a lot of complaints, a lot of moaning about why we changed the contracts and the tendering processes, and I've tried to explain at parish council meetings why that's gone ahead. Essentially, you can't have a contract that is built on gentlemen's agreements. You need contracts to safeguard the parish council and you need contracts to safeguard the contractors. We've put those in place now, and we've sorted out the mess. The contracts need to fit people's needs. So we've sorted out the ball field contract for the contractor there, and we've made it a little bit more suitable for their needs. Previously, the contract for the caretaker was left to expire, ran out, we didn't have a caretaker. We've now got a new caretaker, a very good chap called Mark, who's doing wonderful things, and he's got a spangly new contract suited to our needs of the parish council, and he's being managed very, very well. We've got a new contract for grass cutting. In fact, we've got 2 grass cutting contracts. We've got one for the verges, being undertaken by a contractor based in Malton. They're doing a great job. There have been some teething problems, we understand that, and we've resolved them and put them right. We've got another contract for the cemetery and the churchyard. If you've had a chance to go up there, but the cemetery and the churchyard are looking really good. Parish Council have reviewed over the time that we've been on the council. We've reviewed the business plan, policies and procedures. Now, to give credit where credit is due, the previous locum clerk really did sort out a lot of the policies for us. There were a few that missing, but as I said, nobody's perfect. So this parish council have introduced a new tree policy because we were worried about trees falling over and hit people on the head. We were worried about the benches, so we've introduced a new bench policy. That needs a little bit of tweaking, and at the June Parish Council meeting you'll hear more about that. We've introduced some systems and gained control over Scribe. Scribe is the main computerised system for Parish Council. We didn't have control over it for quite some time. We had view-only status. Things weren't being uploaded to Scribe. We were struggling to deliver services. But we've got round that, and Scribe is not completely meeting our needs. It will need tweaking, but we've made great progress in relation to Scribe. We've also regained control of the banking systems. It is beyond belief that a parish council can't access its own bank accounts. We couldn't access our bank accounts for nearly 4 months. We've got round that now, and now we can. It's not our money, it's your money. Parish Council needs to show due diligence in spending of public money, and this Parish Council will always show due diligence, and we are. And I invite you to go through the Parish Council meetings on YouTube if you don't believe me. We had problems with the AED, the automatic external defibrillator, located on the green. We've sorted that out. We had problems with our public liability insurance cover for what we wanted to do. We've sorted that out. We have managed burials, but that is only really helped with the undertaker, and the sooner that we can get the burial registers back from the local clerk will make everybody's life a lot easier. We've sorted out the taps on the allotments, we've sorted out the allotments, we've sorted out the payments for the allotments, we've sorted out all sorts of things in terms of the boring admin stuff. And really, I've got to give credit to Jenny, our new clerk, for getting her head round all that. And Councillor Heatherton, who's helped to no end with that, so thank you. This Parish Council has also, over the last 12 months, created opportunities for you, the public, to get involved. We encourage the public to get involved. We can't do it all ourselves. We're not sort of human beings. We're just volunteers who want to represent you. So we've created working groups, people to come and get involved. By far, the most successful working group that we've had is the fundraising group. And Denise informed me this evening that the fundraising group have raised £3,300. Number of events, but the biggest is probably the duck race, I think. A very well attended community event a few months back. Sadly, I was on holiday, but to raise £3,300 for a project which is the parish clock repair is absolutely incredible. Of course, there are other opportunities to get involved. We have an upkeep and maintenance group that we wish to promote, and we're going to work on the parish plan. But I appreciate that not everybody wants to get involved with the parish council. I certainly didn't. This is the first time I've got involved in a parish council, and I'm only 35 years old. But I think a parish council that works well should create opportunities, and that's what we're doing. This parish council over the past 12 months has sorted out accounting. We've only had a full council for 8 months out of 12, so 4 months we haven't had a responsible financial officer. And if you don't know, the responsible financial officer is a qualified, trained individual who knows everything about accounting, and it's one of their principal roles is to assist the parish council in accounting. We haven't had one for 4 months. We've set up a finance committee, and I'd like to publicly thank John for his input on that. Being a local businessman, he's been absolutely outstanding, and I'd like to thank Councillor Green, David Green, also for his input on the finance committee. It's allowed us to prepare for a budget and a precept. I've got no idea how you do that, but they've done it, and I know it attracted a lot of criticism for its simplicity, but rest assured I do understand that a budget is a fluid living document, and I think what we've produced fits the bill quite nicely. And certainly the internal auditor thinks so too. We've sorted out bills, we've sorted out payments, we've demonstrated due diligence in public spending, as I've already mentioned, and we've updated Scribe. Scribe wasn't updated for a number of months, and it's just been reconciled by our clerk to the satisfaction of the internal auditor. And it's a process that's ongoing, and the report should be ready in June, and the internal auditor has already indicated that we're on track to get that right. And I want to publicly thank our clerk, Jenny, for sorting that out, because she has had an absolute mountain to climb, and she's at the top. We've also, ironically, engaged positively with the external auditor. Parish Council here has been asked to produce 3 reports for the external auditor. And when I say reports, I mean reports. You can have a 3-page report that takes you 3 weeks to put together, because I've spent hours, and my colleagues have spent hours trolling through what the previous council did, and we've evidenced the reports for the external auditor, hopefully to their satisfaction. So we've engaged positively with that investigation. And I'm going to sum it up really. I don't want to be too negative, but I'm going to sum up on a positive piece of news that Thornton Le Dale Parish Council has been chosen to play a part in a unique opportunity whereby the North Yorkshire Council want to develop a broader and wider scheme of thinking, and we are a pilot for the Forest and Vale Partnership. And basically, in layman's terms, what that means is that we've been specially chosen to work alongside our neighbouring parish councils to give us a bit of a wider and broader platform to enable us to undertake some things that would only be beneficial to this community. And it's an opportunity that we've grasped with both hands, and I think Janet's probably going to touch upon it. So, that is my annual report for Thornton Le Dale Parish Council. I'm not going to take questions now, but I'm going to sit down and listen to Janet, Councillor Sanderson, for the next 20-25 minutes.
Oh, at least an hour.
And then I'll come back and take some questions. Thank you. Janet.
My turn with the wobbly lectern.
Yeah, mind the lectern.
Yeah. So thank you, Chairman, and good evening, everybody. Now, I know we all think Thornton Le Dale is the centre of the universe, so I wanted to start by actually explaining where my division starts and ends. So my division is actually called, well, first of all, my division is one of 90 divisions within the North Yorkshire footprint, and it's called Thornton Dale and the Wolds. And so to give you an idea of the scale, I start in the north at Levisham Station. I go travelling south, I go all the way over the Wolds, right the way down to Thixondale. And then in the west, my division starts at just outside Norton in Rillington Fields, and it used to go all the way along the A64 corridor to Staxton and Foxholes. Now I still go to Foxholes, but the A64 corridor has come back a little bit to Heslington. So I had about 28 parish councils within that division, and now it's shrunk down to about 15, not just because of the size shrink, but because of some councils have amalgamated with other smaller councils. So another part of my role for North Yorkshire Council is that I'm one of 10 executive members that are decision makers at county, and my portfolio is children's services, and that includes all the children's social care, the disabled children's services, fostering adoption, youth justice, youth voice, all the difficult stuff. And I love it, it's great now. I work with a really, really good team, and we've twice got through Ofsted with outstanding, and I don't think there's anyone else in the country that's done that, so it's an honour to do that job. So last year was a really important time for local government reform in North Yorkshire, because the 8 district, boroughs and county councils all joined together and merged to form a unitary authority. And this actually cut out a lot of duplication and enabled streamlining of the services across the larger footprint. So just to give you an idea of that, we had 60 less Tier 4 and above management posts that they were lost. We lost 60 tier posts. And that saved us £4.7 million. That's staggering. You know, the job hasn't changed, we're still doing the same thing, but we saved 4.7 million immediately. We also reduced the number of councillors. I can't remember how many there were, but you know, you think eight councils with something like 50 in each one. You know, some of them only had 30, but you know, it was about 360 councils. We reduced that to 90. It's a lot more work, and I'm feeling the strain of it a bit, but yeah, it is hard work, but we're getting there. Then the new North Yorkshire Unitary Authority formed a combined authority with the City of York, which accumulated in the election of the mayor last month. And so we've now got a mayor. And this isn't a ceremonial mayor. This is where government have said, we will hand back some responsibilities and a big chunk of funding with those responsibilities to do some of the more strategic business throughout the county. So you think about infrastructure, the roads and the rail. You think about business. What businesses are we going to plan? What training and skills do we need to offer our young people so that they can take up those roles, get better jobs, get better housing because they're earning more money? How are we doing that? And then the other thing that he did was to take over the Police, Crime and Fire Commissioner. So we no longer have one of those. That's taken over by the mayoral office. And just to give you an idea of the structure of that, we've got the leader and deputy leader of North Yorkshire, the leader of deputy leader of City of York, which is chaired by the new mayor. So I thought I'd just spell out a bit. I'm happy to answer any questions on that. I didn't want to go into a lot of detail. I thought just really to go into a bit of detail about North Yorkshire Council's relationship with parish councils, because that's what all tonight is all about, really. So I thought, first of all, I'd throw a few facts and figures at you. We've got 731 parish councils across the North Yorkshire footprint. And just out of interest, Harrogate and Scarborough are not parished, but they're going through the process of being parished as we've gone into unitary, and that is proving a huge task. North Yorkshire Council and the parish councils are completely separate authorities. Neither can have influence or control over the other. You can't say, I can't tell Phil to do anything, he can't tell me to do anything. They are separate entities. If a PC fails, the upper tier authority, which in this case is North Yorkshire Council, will continue the business of that parish council until local members can be co-opted or a community governance review can be undertaken. We are seeing parish councils fail across the county, particularly in small rural areas. And I am, at the moment, the proud parish councillor for Kirby Grindley and Duggleby. So that is another job I have to do. And believe me, when I stood for North Yorkshire Council, I did not stand to be a parish council, though that doesn't mean to say I don't respect what parish councils do. I have huge respect for them. I'm paid, they're not. They're at street level, they get all the flack. I'm a bit further apart, so I'm a little bit further away from it. Just give you a few interesting facts, or this is really quite stunning to me. The inequity in numbers of parish council numbers in each council. So Thornton Le Dale has around 1,500 electors and 7 parish council meetings. Some of my little Wolves villages, they only have 90 people, but they have 11 on the parish council. It always means that there's a vacancy there. So if you want to be a parish councillor, yeah, you just come in. You don't have elections, you don't have anything. Just come in and do the job. So There needs to be a governance review at that level, but at the moment I can't see any Parliament actually doing that. Moving on, I will talk about parish council elections. When a parish council loses a council member, the usual way to replace that council mid-term is by co-option at no cost to the parish council. However, if the community do not have faith in their own parish council members to select an appropriate replacement, then they have the right to call an election rather than to allow co-option by existing councillors. So this scenario was borne out last year, as Phil described, at Thornton Le Dale, when residents called for an election to replace a single candidate and later to replace the 5 members who resigned following the parish poll vote of no confidence. Previously, the cost of an election, which is around £13,000, was picked up by the former Rydal District Council. However, as I've just said, North Yorkshire Council now have 731 parishes councils, and by-elections are increasingly more frequent. It was thought that if all the 731 parish councils decided to have 2 elections a year, it would probably bankrupt the council. So a very sensible decision was therefore taken by North Yorkshire Council not to cover the expense of any parish council by-election. The community that called that election would in effect have to pay through their parish council precept. So, as things stand at the moment, we mentioned that poor Henry died, sadly, and his vacancy will be there to be filled. So, as things stand at the moment, it seems likely that we are having a parish council election. However, thankfully, it appears that my conversation with Rishi yesterday has brought him to the rescue of Thornton Le Dale, as any election called for the Thornton Le Dale Parish Council may be combined with the general election on the 4th of July and save the parish council £7,000. So it was a really useful conversation. So, the new North Yorkshire Council is now the largest authority in England. It's a huge geography, going almost to the west coast. High Bentham, I think I go to. You know, you get to Skipton and you've still got an hour's drive before you get there. And then, obviously, right over to the east coast, right down to Selby in the bottom, and up to Whitby again in the north. So it's massive in terms of geography. And one of the criticisms of the move to unitary was that it was too large and may become distant from its communities. I have to say that the portfolio that I have as an executive member, Children's Services, hasn't changed. We've always delivered across that service. When I worked as a music teacher for North Yorkshire Council, we covered the whole service, and we had hubs that really tailored themselves to that locality. So Harrogate Music Centre was different to Scarborough Music Centre. So we've always done that to an extent, but it was a concern for us. So to ensure we didn't lose that community link, we set up links between North Yorkshire Council and the parish councils through what we called a parish charter, which spelt out our relationship with the parish councils, all of them. A decision was also taken to set up a local partnership across the county, starting with 5 pilot projects, and that is what Phil was touched on. Now, these were intended to be based around market towns, where we thought the population would be a little bit easier to draw together. And they weren't intended to be in rural areas. However, for the past 10 years, and this started, we wanted to get broadband onto the Wolds, because no one could get any fast-speed broadband. You know, you were lucky to get 0.5 megabit per second. So we pulled all the parish councils together, and we worked with professionals, and we brought fast-speed broadband across the Wolds to about 98% of the place. So that principle I'd already done on this side of my division with the local parish council. So we had a 10-year template for making this work, but it didn't have teeth. It was a great talk shop. We shared different views on how we'd address problems, but it didn't have any teeth. So after a great deal of persuasion, and it was hard persuasion, the previously existing forum, Thornton Dale Forum, was accepted as a rural partner partnership pilot and formalised into Forest and Dale partnership, not Vale, Phil. We've been having too much beer at the Forest and Dale, obviously. Right, so the partnership aligns itself to the 7 principles within the Rural Commission, and although it only meets twice a year, you think, what can you do in 2 meetings a year? What we did, we created 2 very fast-moving working groups, and we aligned these to the 7 principles, taking 2 at a time from the Rural Commission. And the first 2 we used were the flood prevention and support for small parish councils, because we could see them, or not just in this area, but across the county. And it isn't supposed to spread, it's not supposed to get bigger, it's sort of a lift and shift things. So what we do here, we could lift and shift and say we can do that in rural Richmondshire or any rural part of North Yorkshire. So that was the intention. Now, on Monday, the Flood Prevention Group submitted a bid to the North Yorkshire Shared Prosperity Fund for £20,000, and we're obviously hoping to be successful. I'd like to wish the chairman of that group, who is with us this evening, all the best with that submission, and I know he will use that money very wisely when and if it does. I'd also like to say, as I finished, really, really huge thank you to the community groups that have been here tonight. Wow, what a village, what positivity, absolutely amazing. I think, you all give your time and your effort and your patience, and you've done a great job. So thank you for that. But most of all, I'd like to say a huge thank you to the Parish Council, who have shown resilience through adversity. Very few people, very few parish councils, as we've seen them fail, very few would have got through what they've got through in the last year. They deserve our highest respect, and I give them every thanks. Thank you very
much. A very warm welcome to you. For those that don't know me, my name's Phil Barrett, and I sit on the Thornton Le Dale Parish Council. But looking around, I think I recognise most faces. The vision is really to have as many local organisations, groups, people, volunteers, however you wish to describe, to participate in this annual parish meeting. We're being audio recorded, we're not being visually recorded. Apologies from a group of ladies who I have the utmost respect for, and that is the Women's Institute, who are celebrating their centenary this year. I said, in order to keep off the blacklist of the WI, I would mention that the centenary is this year in Thornton Le Dale. Is it December? Thank you, in December. But I do know that you've got some charitable fundraising events planned for later in the summer, and you've already approached Parish Council to use the village green, and I dare say you'll see some adverts in due course about that. So, without further ado, the first speaker that I'd like to welcome is Mr. Graham Hunt, who is here to represent the sports, everything sporting, and the pavilion of Thornton Le Dale.
Okay, so first I'm going to talk about the Sports Pavilion Association. I am the secretary and one of the trustees of the Sports Pavilion. The Sports Pavilion in its present form was constructed about 20 years ago, and the Sports Pavilion exists to provide a building for 2 of the main sporting groups in the village, so the football team and the cricket team. And the Sports Pavilion Association is there to basically underpin their activities. It's there to maintain the building, maintain the periphery of the field and so on. And its main source of income is the gala, which is on Sunday. That basically provides us with sufficient income, and we have charitable status as well. So the cricket club's been in existence for about 175 years, we think, and despite lots of local village clubs folding in recent years, we're actually thriving. The club welcomes players and supporters of all abilities, age ranging from sort of 5-year-olds to, we've got several players who are actually in their 70s still playing. And it covers a wide range of abilities, so we've got some quite decent players in the club, but we've got lots of people who like to come along and have a good social game of cricket and then go to the pub afterwards, which is all part of the fun. The football, obviously that runs during the winter months. At the moment they've only got one adult team, but they've got 2 junior teams. They are doing really, really well. They won the league, and I think they were, yeah, they did brilliantly, and then they reached the final as well. So that's basically us. So we're very, very proud of it. You know, it's a fantastic facility that the village has got. We do make the pavilion available if you do want to use the pavilion. You know, we've got the facilities there, and if any organisation wants to. So, for instance, we had cycle training down there last summer. Any organisations, you know, we're not basically looking to make any money out of it, but if anybody wants to come along or wants to have a meeting or something, or use the facilities in some way, then please ask us. But it's not just for the sports clubs, it's a village facility. Okay?
Lovely. Thank you very much, Graham. Right, Graham touched upon the hub, so second on this evening is Joy Foster. If you'd like to come up, Joy, she's going to speak about the hub.
Okay. So the hub's just a team of volunteers who try desperately to enhance the community through improving the environment and setting up community activities and projects. So in the last 18 months, we've raised about 3,500 from our events and quizzes. And thanks to everybody, people here who volunteered your time, or you've spent your money, or you've baked cakes at all of these events. We spent about £2,000 on planters and hanging baskets, community newsletters, the pond area, the bird feeders, the community choir. Those things are what we spent the money on. Now, our activities really fall under 3 main headings. First of all, tidying up the village. Secondly, adding to the village. And thirdly, community. We lit a pick once a month on a Sunday. You can all come if you want. We meet at 10 o'clock on the green, and we have a cuppa and a cake afterwards in the village hall. The pond area, this is again under tidying up the village. They also hope to continue working at the north end of the walled car park. The railings, need to mention this. And then the second one is adding to the village through things like the planters and the hanging baskets. And this year, the hanging baskets, which should be installed soon, are going to be paid for by the Crafty Hubbers. And then the third thing that we do, the community. My time's almost up, Phil.
It's well
All
gone,
of
June.
these I don't mind. Sorry.
You've had more than your 10 minutes, get on with it.
Just wrap it.
It's right, 10 minutes is 10 minutes.
I was
They're doing an amazing job, we should be thankful.
I was hoping that the community spirit would prevail.
Thank you very much,
That's it.
Joy.
Thank you.
Right then, so I'll put my other hat on now. I'm chair of the Thornton Le Dale Players. Thornton Le Dale Players was originally founded round about 100 years ago, and has its roots in the WI. So years and years and years ago, all the cast were all female. They would perform in the village, but they would go to village halls and so on all around the area, and very successful they were too. But eventually they decided that they were going to have some men in society. So basically the Thornton Le Dale Players were formed. There is a nice little story that the first male character, anyway, basically he had to climb up a ladder during the performance, and his false teeth fell out and fell into a bucket. And that was the best laugh of the evening. The society grew and grew, and at one stage we were probably the biggest society in the village. We would put on an annual production, usually towards the end of November. It would always be in the village hall. We would do 3 nights, and they were a huge success. We would play to packed houses, and people just loved it. It was really good. We did what the village enjoyed. It was a great social society to be in. However, fashions change. Our membership started to fall, particularly after 2000, I would suggest, and we found it increasingly difficult to put plays on. We just could not get the people to come along, and help. So a few weeks ago, we had our AGM. We were really thinking that the society was going to basically wind down, and that was going to be it. However, a couple of people came with lots of new ideas, and so we voted that we would keep the society going. So if any of you, have any sort of interest in something like that, please give us a shout. Please come along. Okay? Thank you.
Right, lovely, thank you, Graham. And I'd like to invite June up to talk about the village Christmas lights gang, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Steve Hone, the new chair, would have been here to talk about this, but he's unable to come, so he asked me if I'd do it. So, a bit about the Lights Group. We're a group, not a committee, because it's a group of volunteers who work together to bring the December Christmas light extravaganza to Thornton Le Dale. It's voluntary men and women, and we all install the lights display, carry out maintenance and organise the annual switch-on event. And Jim and John are leading a team of people who over the summer months are identifying and doing maintenance work to improve the reliability and safety of our display. So our aim is to continue to make improvements for a good lights display. We're also looking to replace 1 or 2 features. One of our features died this year, and the features are quite expensive, so we're looking to fundraise to create a couple more features to enhance the display. We've also got maintenance costs. We've got annual insurance that you may not realise, and it's quite costly insurance because we've got volunteers working at height with electrical goods, and we also have to insure against an event being cancelled. We have to insure against vandalism, so there's a whole host of things we have to be insured against. And like Joyce said, we are also looking for new volunteers who can give some of their time to help us. So if you're interested or you know somebody who might be, and we'd particularly like to encourage some of the younger members of our community, then please let Jim or John know, or me. A lot of work does go into producing this display by the volunteers, but we also really do have to fundraise, and that one night of the year is our big fundraising night. And it's great that most of the businesses in the village help us. We also support, as Joyce mentioned, Thornton Le Dale Primary School with a Christmas card competition. The Hub kindly organised the delivery, and I lead a team of people who go into the school. The children each year produces their own design of card. We have 3 judges, and they judge that competition. And then that card drops on your doorstep next year. And that child switches the lights on switch on night, and that's always a lovely thing to see. So finally, a date for the diary, 7th of December this year, the first Saturday in December for the next switch on night. We hope to see you, your family and your friends there, and lots more visitors. And we do have a Facebook page which is simply Thornton Le Dale Christmas Lights, and you can leave comments on there.
Thank you, Jim. So, Eleanor, are you ready to speak about the choir?
My name's Eleanor, and it would have been Gay who should be speaking tonight, but the choir meets on a Thursday evening, and so she's at the Methodist Hall. So I've been going to the choir for about nearly 2 years now. When I realised that the evenings in the winter can be quite long and dark, I thought, well, I'm going to have to find something to do to get me out of the house and go and meet some people. So I joined the choir and I joined the WI. The choir started in late 2018 as a result of requests to the village hub to form a community choir. And the newly formed choir group led some community carol singing on the village green at Christmas that year. The aim is to offer a really warm invitation to come along and join us at the Methodist Hall any Thursday from 7 o'clock and have a go at singing with us. We are a friendly group who enjoy singing together in company for fun, which is great for physical and mental well-being and for fostering a sense of community. People are welcome to dip in and out. There is no expectation that they come along every week. On an average week at the moment, we can have anywhere between 18 and 25 singers. We could always do with, as most choirs, I'm quite sure, with more men. We also have refreshments and a chat at the interval and finish around 8:30. We don't go to the pub afterwards, which is possibly a great shame. We have led carols singing at Christmas in the village hall for the last 2 years and have sung for the residents at the hall nursing home. Mainly the choir is about community and enjoying singing together rather than working towards a performance.
Lovely, thank you very much. Thank you. I'm going to invite Lynn Hopwood up to talk about the village hall. Thank you.
Well, good evening everybody, and Phil's introduced me and I am the chair currently of the village hall. We've had our AGM quite recently, so this evening I just want to take the opportunity just to talk about the refurbishment plans. The village hall's been unchanged for some 80 years and is seriously in need of updating now to meet current standards of health and safety and access, and also as we start to look upon the decarbonisation agenda. The building project was launched following an initial community consultation open day. It was very clear the vision for the refurbishment was to create a village hall that retained important aspects of its character in a building that meets all modern community building standards, health and safety, access, and provides additional amenities that will enhance its use for the community. But at the moment, if anything sort of goes wrong with the village hall, it's never that straightforward to sort it out. We are an age that we just need to modernise it, so actually it's much more straightforward to look after that building. We had another consultation with the community when we were looking at some plans that an architect had drafted for us. We've actually made some changes to the plans, and those drawings have now been done. It's been quite a journey for us. I think it will be an exciting build. We've increased the size of the community room. You realise I'm using the word community, not committee, but we will be retaining the tapestry because that's what people wanted us to do, and we will be retaining the fireplace. The thing that always comes up is about the sound, and you can't hear. We've actually had an acoustic specialist in last week who has actually given us recommendations for making the sound better in the village hall. If anybody wants to get involved with the village hall, then come and speak to me. Everybody is more than welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. That's lovely. I'd like to introduce Richard Scullion, who's going to talk about wildlife and why it matters.
A little bit about me. I've lived in the village for 11 years. Before I moved here, I lived in Bradford. I was lucky enough to live in north of Bradford, which was close to rivers, canals, woodland, and just like the film Kes, when I left that house, I just went down to those woods and I was fascinated by all the birds, the wildlife I saw, and that had turned into a lifelong passion. In Bradford, I got involved in the Yorkshire Wildlife Trust, in Bradford Ornithological Group, Bradford Natural Society. Through the surveys and things we did, we identified wildlife which was struggling. Wadid Harrogate and the east of Leeds have good barn owl numbers, but Otley, Bradford and to the west of Keighley had no barn owl numbers. The reason being is that woods were carefully managed, buildings were bought, people turned them into houses, and there was a lack of nest sites. So we started schemes where we built barn owl boxes, and over 5-10 years approached landowners and put barn owl boxes up. We also recognised that woodlands were carefully managed. Why did certain woodlands have specialist birds in, like red starts and pied flycatchers? And we found out that it's a lack of nesting sites. So we engaged in schemes putting up nest boxes to encourage pied flycatchers. and 9 out of 10 birds were successful in pied flycatchers when nesting. Since moving here, I've actually started to work with the National Park, Forestry England, Scarborough Birders and the BTO. The BTO is the British Trust for Ornithology. What are we doing with our land that makes it so difficult for birds to thrive? Living in this area, we're actually blessed to have turtle doves here. When I was a kid in Bradford, there were no turtle doves within the Bradford area. If you left the area, turtle doves would sing. We don't have enough feeding habitat. Back to the question, what are we doing with our land that makes it so difficult for birds? Red starts, spotted flycatchers. That's what we're doing with the National Park on the Birds on the Edge. Anyone in this room or their family members could get involved. The other things I'm involved in, Forestry England do bird surveys every year. We do common bird surveys where you just take a form at 6 o'clock in the morning, you walk 1 kilometre square there and back, and you just record everything you see. And that's wrens, robins, blue tits, everything. And when I was a child, I could walk around my local area, I could hear quail call, I could see yellow wagtails. By the time I'd reached 25, all gone. One thing the bird groups do is they make meticulous records, they record everything they see. It's there for history, and you can see rises and declines in species numbers. We're also involved in nightjar surveys. If you heard a nightjar, you would think there was a 2-stroke motorbike flying across the forest. No matter what age you are, what physical ability you are, you can take part in surveys. If there's anybody in this room that's got skills that think they can make swift boxes, we'd pay for the materials, you just give your time to make them. So please tell me if you do want to get involved. And I think I've concluded.
Thank you very much, Richard. They've got it written on the back of a fag packet, I think. Manthorpe Play Park. Welcome, thank you.
I'm Anna, I'm the chairperson of Manthorpe Park. We've got a few committee members here. There's Natalie, who is the vice chair. We've got Donna and Nancy. I've lived in the village for ever. Manthorpe Park was established in 1965 by Roy and Mary Manthorpe, and it has continued to thrive in the village. We are a registered charity, and the park is run by a group of busy working volunteers. Claire is our parish council rep. We meet about once a month, either in the park, the institute, or in the pub. Over the last few years, we've added quite a few bits to the park. We've put a new events trail in, an inclusive roundabout, a new shelter, and we've updated and resurfaced the skate park. So we'll meet every month to see what needs to be done, any safety problems, any matters arising. We have a litter picking rota every week in the summer to pick up litter and also recently dog poo. We rely completely on fundraising, donations and grants. We mainly just want to thank everybody, all the local groups, for supporting us. We have a duck derby on the 4th of August. Everyone's been really generous and we really do rely on these donations. So the main project this year that we're looking at is the skate park wall, which is showing signs of wear and tear. So mainly just want to thank everyone for their support and donations. If you'd like to become involved, please get in touch. We have a Facebook page, we've got email, or come and find one of us. And please look after each other and be kind. Thank you. Thank you.
Right, thank you. That concludes the presentations from organisations based in and around the parish, and I'd just like to publicly thank everybody that has been motivated and supported this annual parish meeting. I say thank you, Claire, who runs the community Facebook page. I was genuinely surprised about the amount of enthusiasm of people that wanted to come and speak this evening, so thank you.